Hello and welcome to the session. In today's session, we will be talking about one typical web application. Well, this session is about Unit 11 or Unit 3 of Block 3, and there are a number of web applications which has been discussed over there. Now, these include browsing, email services, chat, search engine, and security issues. However, in this particular session, we'll discuss about browsing, a little bit about search engines, and a little bit about security issues when we are dealing with the browsing and other kind of things when we are looking into computer. Now, the web application which we are going to discuss in today's session is called World Wide Web, right? And in fact, it is so popular that Internet of today is considered to be like when we say Internet, it is basically we are referring to World Wide Web. So what is World Wide Web? So a World Wide Web, which is commonly known as WWW, is a system of sharing information through websites which consist of basically text, image, video, etc. over the internet through hyperlinks. So there are 2-3 key terms in this particular definition, which includes the hyperlinking kind of a concept, which includes over the internet. So it is an application which has been developed on the internet. That is why it is an application. And the term used was hyperlink. So we need to know all these terms when we are discussing about World Wide Web. But who designed the World Wide Web? Well, the founder who designed it in the late 80s was he's called Sir Timber Lee, right? So this is and he laid the foundation of World Wide Web. He actually demonstrated transfer of content using a protocol called HTTP. Now, all these things we should know, right, when we are talking about World Wide Web. But what is when we are talking about World Wide Web, we also associate it with surfing or browsing. So what exactly, how are they related, or are they the same thing? Well, when we are talking about World Wide Web, okay, within a World Wide Web, a web browser is a software application that enables you to find, retrieve, and display information available on the World Wide Web. So the idea of browsing or surfing is to use the software, but the application which you are using is the www with the help of a browser. So how does this browsing software work, right? Well, when we are talking about browsing software or the surfing, it is basically requiring a typical language which is called hypertext markup language, or it is known as HTML. Now, hypertext is technically a term assigned to a particular word which is basically contains a link to another web page. Okay, so it is something basically the whole World Wide Web is based on the hyperlinks. Okay, so web browser converts these HTML tags and content into a formatted display, right? Now this formatted display of information, and here what you see is basically a web server which basically hosts the website. So a website or web page is available in this web server. Okay, through the internet, this particular information comes to this particular area, basically belongs to browser and your computer. It is also called a browser. Okay, so user types a typical URL. Now, what is a URL? Or address in an address bar. Okay, and the browser retrieves and displays. So whatever URL you type, okay, that information is retrieved from this particular web server and is displayed. So URL is going to be very, very important, and we would like to know about this particular term. All right. So then there are different types of servers from which the information can be retrieved towards the client. So this is how the typical web application as far as www web application works. Now a typical web page source, if you would like to see, HTML source may look like there are two paragraph. These are the paragraph tags, okay, and then there is some content is there. Then there is an H3 which is for heading. So this is typically a web page, okay, source of web page, which is basically the HTML content. And if this particular content you want to see in a browser, right? If you see in a particular browser, this is from our own university web page of BCA, and what you see, the introduction and objectives, right? So these were the paragraphs which were there. So the basic objective which was there, actually the highlighted, actually is appearing over here. So this particular content is the display of the previous of this particular web page source. Right? So this is how our browser software works. Okay. And our browser software basically is displaying the HTML content into a very beautiful form, right? Which is more attractive to see, more visible also, and more readable also. Otherwise, HTML is not readable for us, right? So from our point of view, what we want to see is that any web page through a browser, right? And not through like its source. Okay. Now there are many common internet browsers which are popular. One of them is Chrome, which several people use. Firefox is another. Internet Explorer now has been replaced by Microsoft Edge, which is becoming more popular than this. Then Opera, and if you are using Apple, then you are using Safari as a browser. So there are a number of browsers which you can actually use. Okay. But there are certain terms which we spoke about before we started this discussion. One was URL, which we will be discussing a bit later. But there are other things which are very, very relevant in the context of when we are talking about World Wide Web. And the very first thing which you should know is called Hypertext Transfer Protocol. All right, which is basically also abbreviated as HTTP. Well, a protocol basically defines a set of rules only, right? So a protocol for transferring data over the World Wide Web is basically Hypertext Transfer Protocol. So it will govern how this data will be transferred from web server till web client, the process which we have shown, right? Okay, so this protocol will be defining how the error and other things will be handled. And then Hypertext Transfer Protocol, which is secure, HTTPS. This is a very interesting protocol these days because this basically covers the security. So it is a secure version of HTTP, right? And it encrypts data to protect data transmission. So whenever you are using any URL, right? So suppose you are utilizing a URL for a bank, then you are looking for a secure web page for logging into the data, because the data, whatever data you are entering for logging into a bank site should be encrypted and should not be available for any kind of misuse by some hacker or so, right? So the whole idea is that HTTPS is a secure protocol as far as the Hypertext Transfer Protocol is concerned. The other few terms which are very popular when we are dealing with internet technologies is Transmission Control Protocol, which is basically called TCP, right? So TCP is a set of rules, called a protocol basically, for reliable and error-free delivery of data streams over the internet. So it is base protocol. So HTTP will be utilizing the services of TCP in order to deliver the information reliably over the internet. Okay, and IP is a very interesting protocol. So in fact, it is a combination TCP/IP, which is also very popular on the internet. So IP is responsible for addressing. After all, data is divided into data packets, right? Now those data packets should reach a particular destination and that destination is going to be a computer where it is reaching, right? So a source, basically, if you have made a request, okay, then you have basically requested, your computer is a source which has made the request, and ultimately from the destination, that is from the web server, the information should come to the source, that is your browser. So actually IP is responsible for doing this particular addressing part, okay. And then comes a very important what we say software, which is called search engine. Most of us are, whenever we are doing browsing, we know about Google. So what is Google? Google is just a search engine, and the job of search engine is basically that helps user to find information on World Wide Web through keywords or phrases. And the examples are there: Google, Bing, Yahoo, etc. So what you would be doing technically, you will be simply typing few phrases, and it is the responsibility of the Google or other search engine to find out which are relevant pages as per those phrases, right? And then they are presented to you. Now the interesting part is how to determine which page is important. Well, in most of the search engines of today, an important web pages which is linked or which is hyperlinked with those pages which are important. So somehow that thing you can learn over a period of time, but we are not going to dwell on that. But this is a very interesting question which you should explore: which pages are important and how it is determined by Google or other search engine that they are important. Okay. Now, how the TCP/IP protocol works, right? So let's talk about a little bit of functioning of TCP/IP. Well, the TCP/IP, the role is it breaks data into small packets. Then it assigns an IP address to each packet to facilitate its movement over the network. Right? So it is basically the movement over the network to reach the correct destination. Then TCP makes sure that the order of packets at the destination is correct. It has to be ensured, because otherwise, because you have broken down the whole thing into packets, they should be checked that they are arriving in the same order. Otherwise, there will be problem, right? And transmission is reliable. That is checked by TCP. So this is how even HTTP stuff is going to be broken into by the TCP/IP, which is the base level protocol, and it is going to ensure this particular delivery. Now, we were talking about surfing and browser. How can we do it? Well, we require a software. And whenever we require a software, there has to be an interface of that particular software. Well, this is how a browser window looks like, right? This is typically a browser window of internet. It's an Explorer software. And you will find that there is going to be an address bar where you need to type in address. For example, the web address of IGNOU website is www.ignou.ac.in. Right? And HTTPS is along with the prefix of that. So you can type that particular address here and you can visit IGNOU website. Although this may not be the present website, but you can refer to a present website, right? And then there are several other buttons in browsers, right? But most important basically is if you want to do some search, then sometimes a search box is given as a separate box, okay? Or if you want to refresh your page, then there is a arrow kind of a thing. Okay, then there is a stop button if you want, then the search button is there. Okay, then this is the scroll bar, like that. So many other buttons are also there. Now this is the latest website, the latest software, browsing software. This is also Google, but what you see here, the number of options have gone to the menu options as separate menu options, and over here you can do lots of activities. Okay, and this is for refresh, and this is basically IGNOU's website and typical web page within that particular thing, within ignou.ac.in. Within the school folder you are looking for program, and within the program you are looking forward to bcnu.html, which is the file which is being displayed in this particular case. Okay, so like that you can actually look into the addresses within a website. Okay. Now some of the browser things or browsing software which allows you back and forward buttons, so that you can go to the next page. The previous page, you can go to the previous page by using a back button, and use forward button to go back to the next page once again. Right, then there are tabs. Okay, tabs are that you can browse multiple websites and put them under different tabs. That is allowed. Then address bars are there. Okay, then address bar is very, very important. Recent history, refresh, home, find. Just to show you that this plus, if you put a plus, you click on it, and what you will get to the next address tab. You will get another tab, which then you can browse a different page onto that particular tab. So like that you can do many things using this particular software. You got to experience them. You got to start using different kinds of software, the functionalities, different kind of web pages, and then start doing this, the browsing or surfing of World Wide Web. It's really good, and most of you might be doing it, and most of you might be using search engine Google to search various things nowadays. And nowadays you get a lot of output, like even AI generated output is coming to your system if you are looking forward to different things. So the browsing technology or the World Wide Web technology is gradually improving day by day, and the kind of information which is being generated for you is quite advanced these days. It is quite comprehensive and quite good to use. However, the 100%, there is no 100% guarantee that it is going to be correct. So you need to be very careful about the information which you obtain from World Wide Web. You should double check it, cross check it. In fact, you should try to learn from other resources also whether the information obtained by you is correct or not. Well, at all the times when we were talking about URL, we were talking about the address bar and so on and so forth. So what is an address in context of World Wide Web? Well, there are two different kinds of addresses in the context of World Wide Web. First is called Uniform Resource Locator, which we said URL. We use this particular abbreviation. Okay, so this is an address of specific web resource. It may be a web page, it may be an image, or it may be a file on the World Wide Web. And a typical example of this kind of a URL is going to be HTTPS, which says that this particular web page is using secure HTTP protocol. All right, and the 2/ in fact were given by Timberley. Right, Sir Timberley only designed this 2/. Then www.ignou.ac.in is basically the web address, where www is primarily the name of the server, IGNOU is the name of the organization, right? AC is a domain or subdomain, we can call it, which is basically academic domain we are referring to, and IN is basically referring to India domain. So this is the region oriented or geographic domain, which you call. So they can be like looking at the website, you can make out like it is belonging to India or outside academic institution. Suppose the website is .gov, then it belongs to the government. So whenever you are looking at the web address, it gives you a lot of inputs. So don't get misled by people that this may be into wrong websites. Okay, so this HTTPS is very, very important when you are looking forward to a banking website. Okay, the second type of address on internet is internet protocol address, which we said get embedded into different packets. And this typical IPv4 address, this actually it was an earlier protocol which was used for IP. Now IPv6 is there, but this particular protocol had 32-bit address of devices on a network, allowing them to communicate. A typical example which is commonly used as a subnet address basically, or address of a particular local area which you use in a local area network, is given over here. And remember, this 192 is in decimal value, which actually is converted into a 8-bit value. Okay, so this is how this will be. 168 is going to be also 8-bit binary value, and 1 is also going to be 8-bit. So all these dots basically separate 8 bits each, and we normally write them into decimal equivalent value of those. So these are the IP addresses which are used in the URL. Now, how to communicate between a web address and web browser, right? So when you type in address of a website, your web browser knows that you want to access a website, okay? Because you have said HTTP:, right? The web browser requests the nearest domain name system server to resolve the IP address of the intended website. So DNS is basically somebody, just like if we take a very common example, somebody who knows the addresses, right? So whenever you go to a locality, you know there are certain shops and you ask them that where is this particular address. Same way, we will be asking the DNS, domain name system, or right. So DNS system, we will be asking where is this particular address, what is the actual IP address of this particular system. Then communication between web browser and server. The name that is server may take the help of another name server in case if it is not able to resolve the IP address. Otherwise, it will generate an error message. Then at step 3, assuming that there is an entry of the website, the name server will return the resolved IP address of the web server on the website. So first step, in technically speaking, all these 3 steps are basically resolving that. Suppose you have entered www.ignou.ac.in. So what is the IP address of it, right? So name server is going to tell our web browser that this is the IP address, and then the browser then requests TCP/IP protocol to establish a connection with the web server through IP address that has been resolved in the previous step, and get the home page of the website, generally named as index.html. And then downloads the related image file, audio file, video file, XML file, Flash, etc. And whenever you click onto another file, that particular file is going to take over this particular information. Like that, the movement, the step 1 to step 5 or 4, these kinds of movement cycles are going to take place. Now, whenever you are browsing website, it is very important that you follow certain security precautions. And these are basically HTTPS. Suppose you are browsing a good website, right? It will be nowadays a secure website with S over here, okay? So at the beginning of address. While browsing from a public computer, delete the content of web cache, cookies, and browsing history. They are all there onto the, when you right click on some of the buttons, they are there. Okay, so you go through this particular thing. Your content also have that, but must do this particular step. Then cookies. Now, most of the browsers leave certain cookies, okay, which are basically a small message stored by the web server to your web client to identify your browser for future communication. Now, the question is, are cookies bad? Technically, they are not bad if it's a known website. If it is an unknown website, they are definitely they may be browse cookie which are trying to extract information about you. So you need to be very careful. Okay. Then other security tips for browsing are: do not click all the links which you get. Okay. Use the latest versions of browsers. They are more secure. Do not log into critical application if it does not have HTTPS. Do not download or install plugins from the unknown party. So these are some of the precautions, right? No, never install plugins. Now there can be various situations which lead to many problem situations. Okay. Finally, do not visit unsolicited websites. Use a separate user account for accessing internet on your computer and restricts the right of this user account. This is definitely going to help you in solving many different problems as far as security related problems when you are browsing through internet. Well, with this, let us try to summarize what we have covered in this particular session. We have introduced you to the concept of web browser, World Wide Web, HTTP and HTTPS. I have also introduced you to web addresses like URL and IP address, and the functions you can perform using a browser. And we have also dealt with some of the security tips while browsing technology. With this, we end this particular session. Thank you for being with us.